Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hashira Half Hour. I am your random piece of fabric floating through the swamp and hoping to get rescued by Tanjiro. I'm Hannah, and I'm as always joined by Bryan and Emily.
What's up, guys? It's me, the Naruto on Naruto's back, Bryan.
Hi guys. I'm Emily, making it through this beautiful drizzly Friday with a hot chai latte.
Ooh,
Something about rainy weather that brings out the hot coffee in all of us.
We
right?
are approaching my favorite time of the year, pumpkin spice. I know that that's a controversial take, but not for me.
Can't go wrong
I
with
mean, it's
pumpkin
just when
spice.
it's too early. Having known the holiday creep has gotten early and earlier each year, pumpkin's just a little too early. But
Hey, you know what? I would drink pumpkin and peppermint all year long if I could, and I probably actually could, but I choose not to. Oh man. Well, today we are discussing episode 7, Muzan Kibutsuji. And what an episode it is. Quite a lot happens in this episode. Like, we got the second half of Tanjiro's first mission as Demon Slayer, and we meet our main big bad villain, Muzan Kibutsuji, hence the name of the episode. There's a lot to go over with this episode, and I felt like looking at it through the lens of power. So we're going to be focusing on the theme of power this episode. This episode was jam-packed, full of action and storytelling. Something that I really loved was the inclusion of Nezuko in the fight with Tanjiro's first Demon Slayer mission. We have gotten episode after episode of Tanjiro's story, watching him train and become a Slayer. But this episode, we first really get to see Nezuko's power. So kind of what my first question would be is, what do you think of the beginning stages of Nezuko's abilities?
It's interesting to get to watch her. This is one of the first missions that they've been on together, and we've seen her kind of jump into action a few times, but I don't think we've seen her in as close combat yet as what we get to see in this episode with the demon that's split into the three. Um, it's interesting because that demon, again, I think we can kind of infer that he has been around for a little while. He's clearly eaten quite a few humans, and with each new human that he's consumed, gained who knows how much more power. Nezuko doesn't have any of that, right? So at first it's a little clumsy, I think. Like backed by a lot of strength, but it is like kind of like misguided and clumsy. And he even mentions like, oh, these are the same moves over and over. I'm kind of picking up what she's putting down here, and I think that I'll be able to like leave a scratch, which he does. But she is also a very quick learner. And so the way she's able to kind of pivot and fight back and use her own strength against him metamorphosizes so quickly in this fight that it's like very intimidating. I think it's like, oh, she's like a baby demon. She's just learning how to do this, but look at how fast she's learning this, even though this other person has already eaten so many. So it's interesting to see the battle between the powers there.
yeah, I think Nezuko as a power level, obviously, she's kind of like a puppy in my mind. She doesn't really have her legs yet. She isn't really fully there yet, but she's like, she understands that she can do big swings and do big kicks. And I think her power level is, kind of driven from that command Tanjiro gave her, like, protect these two, while I'm going under. And so I think that's where the brute strength that Emily talked about is coming from. That power kind of is, based upon a memory, or at least again, we've talked about her primal instinct. That one thing, if we're like, again, going back to the dog metaphor, she's just following that command very well. And I think that's just a lot of loyalty as well for her power.
Definitely, yeah. I loved the moment where she like jumped over that swamp so effortlessly, and Tanjiro was like, okay, wait, I don't need to protect her because she is powerful because she is a demon. It's like, yes, yes, she's got that power, but we're getting pebbles of it. Love it. I really loved also how we finally got to see the two of them just truly working together. Both Kamado siblings have a lot of power now in their own right, but they really are able to maximize it by working together. So how did you feel about their shared power through teamwork in this fight scene?
I wanted to say that it's like Batman and Robin, but I don't think that's a fair comparison. Well, maybe it is to start because I would say with like kind of a Batman and Robin type situation, their power levels are distinguishable. Where Tanjiro, you have years worth of training with Orokodaki, but with Nezuko, all you have is that kind of mental training that she had while she was asleep, and just the pure loyalty to Tanjiro and follow him as her backups. So I think their power comes in waves, and I think they are kind of good opposites for each other, where Nezuko does not have the power quite yet of like training and technicality. She has the emotional push behind her, whereas Tanjiro, just being human, sometimes lacks that, but does have that technicality. And I think she's kind of picking up and using Tanjiro as an image to grow towards in this baby demon phase, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that a little bit, I think that Nezuko's moment to shine, at least initially, might have happened technically in the last episode at the beginning of this fight, where she gets to jump in and protect not only her brother, but then the other two humans that are there with them, that she kind of sees her siblings in, I think. This episode, we really get to see Tanjiro have a great moment with her. He, the minute that she gets scratched, that demon's going in for the kill, and he jumps back out of the swamp. Not my sister. Oh my gosh, what a great moment. I am such a sucker for anything like that. But it also shows like his speed, right? Because he's like stuck in this kind of timeless area, swimming back through it, and it seems so slow paced, but then everything that happens afterwards happens like not even in the blink of an eye. So the speed that he's honed really matches the strength, I think, that Nezuko is beginning to nurture and to get to show off in the fights as well. And between the two of them, they're going to be an unstoppable team.
Yeah, you kind of have to wonder if he like sensed something was going on, because he wasn't able to see what was happening to Nezuko until he was like above ground, and as soon as he was above ground, he was taking that demon down. So it's like, do they have like a sixth sense for each other, like in protecting each other? I think there's kind of magic in this world, right?
I think so.
I mean, I think that to a certain extent, the breathing forms and demon blood arts are magic. So
yeah, it's like a realistic magic. It's not like Harry Potter magic. It's like, all right, like this is just part of their world.
Part of their world.
I knew as soon as I said that you were going to start singing that song, so I paused because I knew you were going to do it.
Oh my god, that's great.
Bryan never changed. Ever. Oh man. So going off of that, let's transition over to Tanjiro for a moment. We kind of already touched on him a little bit, but this obviously isn't the first time we've seen him fight a demon, since he had to fight those demons in Final Selection. However, it is his first mission as a Slayer. A couple moments stood out for me in this fight. His brave choice to go inside the swamp, first of all, was very powerful. Like, he was just like ready to go into this unknown area without knowing what was inside, if he could even survive, but he was just like, let's do this. But a moment that really called to me was when he dealt with the final of the three after the fight was pretty much done. We're really starting to see his ruthlessness come out, because he like cut that tongue out. He was just like, like, don't come for my sister, don't come for these people. I'm going to protect them. So how do you feel Tanjiro showed power in this moment over that demon?
I mean, I think that by the time the demon realized that two of his counterparts were already dead, that the power imbalance was pretty clear. And of course, Tanjiro's fantastic moment that we just talked about, but he's got a lot of motivation behind those moments. For one thing, this demon's coming for his sister. This is his last living sister and kind of what he's dedicated the rest of his life to. So I don't know about you, but if it was me, I would not be letting anybody anywhere near them. Mm-hmm. So I can't really blame him for that. And I think that's like a little bit of his primal instinct that he might have coming to play. And then the secondary motivation that he has here is that he needs to find out how to turn her back, right? And he's not had a lot of luck with other demons in the past, speaking to them and trying to get information. He's only just gathered a name from Orokodaki very recently as to like the individual demon that he thinks might be responsible or at least able to give an answer. And this demon is one of the first that's able to actually like hold a conversation with him long enough to give any kind of information at all. And the only information that it's able to give is that it can't give any, which I think to Tanjiro is like kind of showing the significance of this person that he hasn't met yet, or this demon, because here he is, he knows that he is in a position where he's able to kill this demon. Clearly Tanjiro holds more power in the immediate moment, and this thing is still not willing to talk, because that's how much power this unspoken force has as well. Yeah. So I think it's interesting. I think he knows that he is becoming more powerful, Tanjiro, but he knows that whatever he is up against is something to be reckoned with.
I think with Tanjiro in that moment, he is kind of playing executioner, right? Or I guess kind of like a cat playing with his food to a certain extent. Like he's really done with him at that point, but like if there's anything else he can scavenge, why not? And he's just trying to, head towards Muzan, right? With his motivations going forward, he wants to try and get Nezuko back to a human, and he wants to try and avenge himself. So his power, I guess, comes from that emotional drive. And it'll be really interesting, or it is interesting to watch long-term for future episodes, kind of how it grows and how it changes as well with his day-to-day realities. His power, though, I think still comes from a solid place of justice and truth. And I think that's kind of interesting for most types of powers, because you see a lot of like power corruption. And I think it's very interesting how he uses it in a way that may seem toying and, extortionist like, but it's still coming from that sense of justice.
Yeah. And the way he just didn't hesitate when the demon's arms regenerated and tried to make a jump on him, like, just shows, again, just how ruthless he is and how he's willing to bring his blade down as soon as he feels him and the people around him are in danger. So a lot of power there. So speaking of that moment, because I feel like that moment from the episode was a pretty big one, honestly, and we kind of touched on it briefly when we were talking about it just now. But this really is the first time we get to see the power that Muzan holds over the demons. This demon, as soon as Tanjiro brought up the name, he was pretty much in tears, like, no, I can't tell you, like he's having flashbacks of being choked out by him. So what do you think, like taking a deeper dive into that power that Muzan holds over the demons, where do you think that is coming from, and just like your overall thoughts on that?
As a part of the story itself, right? Every anime needs its big bad guy villain. And I think this is that moment where we finally meet them. So you finally get to, experience the essence of true power. And I think, again, another anime cliche, power comes from fear. Every villain says it. But that's very eminently true when you see the demon starting, like, literally panicking because he sees him in his mind and he's like, oh shit, like either I'm gonna die to a demon slayer right now, or Muzan could give me a fate worse than death. So I don't know what to pick, right? And then Tanjiro also kind of experiencing all that, going back to what Emily said, right? How shook can you be when the actual demon is starting to get scared? Like, and he's just beginning to get into the world of demons and understanding their hierarchy. So he's really just getting that like big bad guy experience for, just a minute.
Yeah. I think we'll touch on this a little bit more later, but to me, that we have this flashback moment with the demon, right? And we get to see still like a very silhouetted figure of Muzan and his interaction with this particular demon. And I think it's insinuated in that moment that this is like the creator, right? Like or certainly like somebody very high up, like Bryan said, in those hierarchies. Somebody, again, that has the power to offer something that's like worse than death, like Bryan was saying. And what are you going to pick? What are you going to pick between each of those? And knowing that it's something that's eternal, and that he mentions that he's always going to know what you're doing. Like, how is he able to do that? It's not really touched on quite yet. But that he is constantly watching and he'll know the minute that you do something, and that it's not just an empty threat, I think. It's clear that he holds a lot of power and that he's going to be a really important figure, I think, in the future for every demon. Probably not just for this one, probably for Nezuko, probably for a lot of the other ones that we're going to run into here as well.
Well, and at the end of the day, like, he chose to make the jump on Tanjiro instead. Like, he could have chosen to just say his name, but instead he was like, no, I'm not going to, and I'll take my chances with this Slayer. Like, even though Tanjiro was towering over him, you know, had just cut out his tongue like a freaking badass, like, you know, he had the choice, and he still was so scared of Muzan and his power that he was like, maybe I'll take my chances with this Slayer. And of course, he was instantly taken care of. But again, really telling of that power.
Right. It's like, is that the more merciful option? Probably is.
Yeah, I mean, a quick death. I mean, that demon was gone within seconds because it didn't take him long to disintegrate. Like, you imagine how quick of a death that was compared to what could have happened if he had said Muzan's name. It's very different. Yeah.
Another what if moment, right? You imagine what happens. He's like, his name is Muzan Kibutsuji, and he is, and all I imagine is just like him starting to bubble, like from the inside and bursting.
We should just write a whole Demon Slayer what if like TV show and try and get our TV show
The
produced.
grass Hashira. Oh my god, it could happen.
I'll be the cookie Hashira.
I'll be the controversial pumpkin spice Hashira.
Pumpkin spice Hashira. I'm done.
Pumpkin spice breathing, first form.
Latte style.
The pumpkin spice thing is actually probably all about perspective. To me, I'm a Hashira, but the minute that I go in on an unspecified day when it comes back to the Starbucks barista, I am probably the demon. So.
No, let's just live in the Demon Slayer world and do something like that.
I am all for it.
Okay, tangent. Let's revert back. It's hard to do sometimes. So let's dive in a little bit more into Muzan, just because I feel like it's clear, like, when it comes to power, Muzan's got all kinds of it. This is the episode where we actually see his face, which I don't know about you guys. When I watched the show for the first time, I was not expecting to see the face of the main bad guy so early on in the show. I was thinking they were going to pull like an Avatar Last Airbender, where we did not see the face of the main villain until the final season. But I think it's interesting that they chose to show us his face now and have that interaction between our main hero and the main villain. Obviously, we didn't see much of the interaction. That's more coming next episode. But I love that Tanjiro was ready to fight him then and there. As soon as he put his hand on his shoulder, he was grabbing his sword. He was ready. You can see that anger inside of him, knowing that Muzan was the one who killed his family because of the scent. He's seen the power that he holds, yet he's still willing to take him without another thought. But then we see Muzan's family and a diversion. He turns a man into a demon. So, obviously, small pebbles of Muzan and Tanjiro and what the story is going to lead to. But what are your first thoughts on just that whole moment where Tanjiro is willing to take him down, but Muzan is very clever with the distractions?
I think Tanjiro wanting to still go in there, it's his, headstrong perseverance, right? He, again, doesn't have perspective on, he understands that it's bad, but he doesn't understand the perspective of how bad it is yet in the entire comparison of demons. So it's very interesting to just see him walk in to the unknown. As Muzan is standing there, he clearly knows what's going on, and he's trying to de-escalate this situation as quickly as he can, because he knows that this could either go really bad or I could hopefully walk away with this. His daughter sitting there, I don't know who you are, like, couldn't know her, couldn't ever. It's just Muzan just trying to get that diversion of attention away. But I think that his use of that is interesting because he's still able to do other things. We see him scratch at someone else, and then he's like, I will spite you nonetheless for coming here and doing this.
Yeah. As far as power goes in this scene, Muzan holds it without a doubt for so many different reasons. First, to kind of piggyback off of what you were saying, Hannah, we get to see his face right away, which is extremely uncommon in like this anime algorithm that exists. A lot of the really popular shows do not do that. Off the top of my head, a really good example, Naruto. Maybe we'll talk about that later, but one of the best villains in the entire show, we do not get to see their face or realize who they are for hundreds of episodes. And it's like a huge buildup to who this person might be. This completely flips all of that on its lid, and we get to see this person right away. And I think that that really insinuates that this is somebody who's not afraid to show their face in broad night light, I guess. I don't know what you call it. Broad in the light, like just walking around downtown Tokyo, right? Immediately visible, surrounded by hundreds of other humans. This is somebody who knows that they are extraordinarily powerful, and I don't think that Tanjiro running up to them is going to be something that throws them off right at this moment. I think maybe it's a little blip in their day. For Tanjiro, it's a huge moment. This is like the person that ruined his entire family and probably was the one that turned his sister into a demon. I don't think Muzan even knows who he is quite yet. At this point, I think he's just like, oh, like this is a demon slayer. This is clearly a rookie. He's figured this part out, but this is not something that I need to concern myself with right now. And we get to see him do like a little power demonstration, I think, for Tanjiro in this moment. And this is another moment where I think we get to see like this is the creator, because there is the moment with the scratch, which is used as a diversion, for the crowd. But we get to see him turn somebody so quickly. And it's like, this is what I can do just by barely grazing my fingers across the back of somebody's neck with nobody noticing. Imagine what I could do if I was trying right now. And I haven't done this in a couple. Oh, no, what's up?
Oh, no, I just said.
I heard it. I heard it in my head after.
It's fine. It's fine.
He is. He's like, try me. I have been around for centuries. I am not afraid of you. Like, what? I don't think he even has put together that like Tanjiro and Nezuko are even like part of the same thing. I don't think that that's anywhere near crossing Muzan's mind right at this moment. And he holds a lot of power. I haven't drawn any parallels to like other famous literature in a minute, but if this was like the bad guy, this is like the Dracula character, right? This is the one that's different, because we've seen a few demons. They don't really exist very well around other human beings. We see that they have this bloodlust that's like barely containable, and he's able to just walk around like it's not a problem. He has a family. He's not afraid to be seen in broad daylight, but he is also the one that can turn other people into them very, very quickly. And we've not seen any other demons with that power quite yet. So this is a powerful guy. I think that without a doubt, he holds all of it in this moment.
And yet Tanjiro was like ready to throw down and like end the show right then and there.
In the initial moment, yes, but I do think that Tanjiro, like in the immediate follow-up, realized what he was dealing with.
Yeah, I think
like the shock.
Yeah, he understood the choice that he needed to make as soon as Muzan turned that man into a demon. He knew he needed to go there and protect him. He kind of gave up on taking on Muzan at that moment, which I think was Muzan's plan, was again that diversion to like, he doesn't want this random slayer like trying to call his name out in this crowd because he's clearly trying to blend in. So Tanjiro went right with his plan, but it was the right choice. Obviously we're early enough in the show. There's going to be, a power mismatch there. Tanjiro's not ready to take him on. He thinks for a moment he might be, but he's not.
He got the confidence. You don't got the back to it, though.
No, not yet. Tanjiro, you have a long way to go, honey. It's episode 7. with a lot of mystery involved. And to kind of call out something that you mentioned, Emily, like, yes, he is looking at him at this rookie, but maybe detected a sense of fear in his eyes, like a small amount of fear in Muzan's eyes when he saw Tanjiro for the first time, which I think is a call to the next episode. So I'll leave it at that. But I do think there was a slight amount of power that Tanjiro held over him for roughly 0.5 seconds. Before he was like, I gotta take care of him. Man. All right. Well, before we transition over into our favorite moments of the episode, do you have any other thoughts on the episode that you want to throw in before we do that? I feel like you're both.
I just loved Muzan's first album. I thought it was one of my favorite releases.
You've been struck by a smooth criminal.
Rest in peace, Michael Jackson. I know you would have loved Demon Slayer.
Oh, a carbon copy of him. Like, let's be honest. The writer did not even try to hide. I mean, it's the same style. I get it.
I love it.
It's great. The jokes can sometimes get tiring on TikTok, though. I will say that. Every once in a while, I'm like, I get it. He looks like Michael Jackson. Can I please call him Muzan without people coming for me?
Hey,
well,
I mean,
this outfit Muzan.
Yeah, it's this specific outfit that he's in now. You know, later on we'll see him in different outfits, and he won't look like him. But cool. All right, great stuff. Well, I think it is a good time to transition over to our favorite moments of the episode. So I will go first. Kind of rewinding back a little bit, we've been talking a lot about the end of the episode. But there are a lot of scenes in this episode that I actually love. I say, like, so much happens in this episode. They really jam-packed a lot into 23 minutes, but it didn't feel rushed, even though so much happened. I was like, dang. Anyway, I wanted to speak on Tanjiro's final interaction with the young man that, had the fiance who unfortunately got devoured. This young man is like yelling at him. He's like, are you laughing at the way I brushed that off?
Unfortunately, she was devoured. Against my better wishes, she has been consumed.
Bless her soul. Anyway, moment of silence. Okay, let's move on. Losing my train of thought. So, this young man yells at Tanjiro. He's like, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know how it feels. Why are you telling me to just keep living on? And Tanjiro has every right to be like, yo, I lost my whole family. Like, relax. I've been through worse, honestly, and I'm a child. But instead, like, we get like that picture perfect, kind Tanjiro face, and he just gently takes his hand and is like, you're gonna be okay. Like, it's fine. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't feel the need to explain his past to this man. He just hands him the little satchel and hopes that, something from his fiance is in there. And of course it is. And then he feels Tanjiro's hands, which are so hard and blistered from all the training. And then he realizes that he must have gone through it. And I think, again, you guys know I would love to talk about Tanjiro and like his kindness and empathy. But it just was one of those really shining moments for him. He had every right to like kind of snap back at this guy who was being snappy with him, but he kind of understood the situation that he was in and chose to treat it with empathy. And I love the contrast of Tanjiro's character in this episode because he's got those sheer ruthlessness moments and then the sheer kindness moments. Such a well-rounded character. I love him, as always.
100%. That is such a beautiful little moment. Like, it's kindness, it's silent kindness, I think, that he really shows off very nicely. My favorite moment is kind of a small one, and it's hard to pick because this is such a good episode. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of season 1 overall. So I really could like just put my finger down and just pick like any frame from here. But one that I think is a little bit funny in this episode that's otherwise kind of serious is the transition between like this fight with the 3 demons and then into like kind of this Muzan scene. We get to see Tanjiro kind of freak out in the city. He's like, is this like, he's like, there's electricity and running water and like, but that's just like not what he's familiar with. And we get to see him get like overstimulated, I think, in the city. And then he's like, I can't go here. Oh my gosh, I can't go in this dark alley. People are doing unspeakable things. I can't, like, where can I exist and like feel sane? And then he like finally drags Nezuko out and he's like, okay, we're getting a bowl of udon now. And then he finally gets the bowl of udon. And right as he's about to go and enjoy it, it's like, okay, I have this scent that I'm picking up on, and he just drops it. And I'm like, man, like, please let my boy have some soup.
Right?
Please let him have some soup.
Our precious little country bumpkin.
I know. Precious little angels. But that's mine. I just think it's funny, the contrast of those 2 scenes and like him being stuck in the middle of it.
I think it was good soup.
Good soup.
But my favorite moment of the episode, I always love a good animation scene, right? I always love breathing forms. And so my favorite moment is underwater, where he is fighting those demons and he's like, you guys think you have the advantage on me here, but there are only certain forms that work in water. And so he hit him with that form 7, is it right? Whirlpool. And he just sliced him. Oh, God. He was like, you guys think you have the upper hand on me. And I think it really just kind of actually does demonstrate power in that moment, that they had the understanding, they thought they were in the clear to keep going, because even he had said, how can they move that fast? They're underwater. How are they, hitting such good angles? And it shows power on their own and from their own training. But Tanjiro said, this isn't an uneven fight and I will show you. And he literally just ripped right through him. And I think that's awesome.
Lots of power. That's a really good scene that we didn't even talk about much, but I think that's telling of how many good scenes there were in this episode. I mean, every single moment was, you're just trying to kind of absorb everything that's going on. So amazing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that is about all the time that we have for today. So thank you all for listening in. As always, please subscribe, like, share the content on platforms, whatever you want to do. Additionally, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at the Hashira Half Hour. And we will see you all next week. Umai.
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 Bye, everyone.